if you want a man in your life, you have to do something about meeting him, which is the hard part. See, when you're young, no problem. You could really be the hunchbackest of Notre Dame. You could be hideous gargoyle. As a young woman, you're going to meet a man because it's the hormones. They're running the show. You go out there. I remember as a young girl, they would flock to me like fruit flies on ripe melons, which is what they were doing. And they were, that was why the breasts came in handy and still do. It's amazing what holds up on the body. But the truth of it is that I have to be more proactive. I know that because in order to meet a man, as someone told me, I have to leave my apartment. I don't want to do that. I don't like it outside anymore. It's too young and crowded and it's noisy. It gets on my nerves. But they're right. They're right because the odds of a good-looking Jehovah's Witness coming to the door. Occasionally, there's another one. Occasionally, a cute pizza guy comes by, but he's at the wrong apartment. What am I going to do? Come on, deliver the pizza and come back. Not interested. So I went online. I did. I actually joined Senior People Meet. Shoot me if you ever go. This is the range of senior people. I've gotten answers from guys who are 45 and guys who are 80. Now, the 80-year-old men, number one, the grotesque thing about science and medicine is they've invented pills that an 80-year-old man can have an erection for 4 hours. Excuse me. He can have an erection for 4 hours and he spends it in an outdoor bathtub. Now, what sense does that make? And that's what really a repulsive thought. I mean, at 3.5 hours, he's having a heart attack if he's using it. That's the bottom line. But I did. I joined the senior site, and I found that I'm attracted to the same kind of man I've always been attracted to. The only men who interested me lived across country and had no money. So my therapist suggests, I'm back in therapy, by the way, don't ever do it. If you're out, stay out. Let the psychosis fester. Don't bring it up. It is too painful and you get crazy. You really do. At this age, biggest mistake, and he's a good therapist, but he said to me, well, Jane, this is obvious why you're doing this with these guys cross country. You're afraid of your vulnerability. Really? Really? Is that what I'm paying you for, Howard Stu? Thank you, really? I love saying it, really. It's a Tourette's beginning, really. I don't know, and I lost my train of thought. So it's good that we're close to the end, because this could be like what was it, Rick Perry, that schmuck who know what it is, they still come back. That's the good news. When they stop coming back, you finish, you're in the nursing home rocking back and forth. But the point of the whole thing is the father of psychotherapy was a crackpot on a lot of levels. He might have been bright, but he was a loon. First of all, he was a cocaine addict. That's nice. Treat people while you're on cocaine. Good idea. Good idea. Also, he had a phobia about young. And every time we're young, every time he would get near him, he could pass out. Freud would pass out. Good way to handle your issues. Very good. Just pass out. And he is the one who came up with the concept of we have penis envy. Women have penis envy. You know who has penis envy? Other men have penis envy. Now, mine's bigger, mine's better, mine's fuller, mine's cuter, mine has a happy face on its head. Come on, please. Women are not envious of the penis. We like it. If we're straight and in, we like it, we enjoy it. We sometimes give it a name. We can get very close to it. But envy it? Have you looked at that thing recently? So I'm on the senior line, and I said, all right, I'll go to the locals. I'll, try to be open to this horror. And I went on a few dates, and nothing really happened. And older men oh God. Whiners, that's what I'm meeting. I'm meeting old Jewish whiners on the road. Yeah, I don't want to come into the city. Could you take the number 7 out to a store? And then maybe you could also, there's a bus that will connect you. Then it's an 8-block walk, but it's all right. Yeah. I went out with one guy. Men are so full of themselves. I mean, I love men on some level, but on some level, ugh, please. It's amazing. Men never see what's wrong with them physically. They just don't get it. And I went out with this guy, and it was a nice date, I thought. His face had a lot of moles on it. And after the date, he walked me home and he said, and I knew it was the kiss of death, he said, "You're a nice lady." You know, and I knew the end was, but there's no chemistry. I don't know, I was getting off on one of those moles. What do you mean? So it comes down to, what's left. Well, I know another thing I wanted to bitch about for a minute is the medical profession. It was David brought it up. When I was a kid, aside from no electricity, but no, when I was a kid, and the trips in the covered wagon was very, very tedious, but it was really, you had a family doctor, or you went to the hospital. That was the deal. And now I have a doctor for every part of my body, which is really distressing. And we had our family doctor, if you got sick, not really, they would come to the house.
That's true. Yeah.
And a lot of them, they weren't pedophiles. They were doctors doing what doctors did then. Our doctor was a little frightening, of course, naturally. He was a tiny little guy with a very beard, and he looked like Toulouse-Lautrec, as a matter of fact. Once with a high fever, I thought he had some can-can dance. But now, even if a doctor is good, he can't do his job. He can't find his patient under the paperwork. You dig, oh, there you are. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get to you sooner. Call 911. It's a horror show. China had a revolution at one point, and they took out the intellectuals because they felt that the intellectuals had to go. In our country, we'd be hard-pressed to find them at this point. But if we ever had a revolution that got violent, I would say take out anybody who has anything to do with health insurance, and take out the pharmaceutical company people. Take them out, blow their brain, and a few people you don't like. So I do, here I am. I don't do drugs anymore. I don't drink. I don't have a man in my life. So my obsession is food. Because in our family, food wasn't food. It was love. It was comfort. It was acceptance, but it wasn't food. So when I get needy, I will get obsessed about a certain kind of food. And my latest obsession were the small, dark chickens at Whole Foods. Basically, I just wanted the skin, but they wouldn't sell it that way. So I go in one day after, my nightmare in the South Bronx, and I didn't mention this. I have to tell you this one. This is because most of the stuff is true. I was coming back from a day working, I was a social worker for years, so I'm coming back from my really festive job in the South Bronx. And I was always a social work supervisor because I could make contact for, 5 seconds and write a coherent sentence. So I'm a social work supervisor. And I have the joy now of a 45-minute ride on the number 2 train on an elevated platform with bad knees, 36 steps up. It was so fabulous. So I'm on the train, and I just want to sit there quietly, going over my mind all the rich men I could have married when I was young. And there's a Spanish woman sitting next to me, very happy-looking woman, and she wants to engage me in conversation. Now, in New York, I did talk to her because, as I started in New York, you really don't know what you're dealing with. She looked friendly, but she could have been a psychopath with a gun in her purse, so I thought, let me talk to her instead of, possibly getting my brains blown out. So she turns to me and she says, Oh, you must be so happy you're retired. What gives you the idea that, number one, I'm happy about anything? And number two, that I'm retired. I'm not retired. I made stupid choices. I'm not retired. I'm still working. I'll work till I drop. I mean, that's just the way it goes. You're still working. Well, God bless you. God bless you. That's wonderful. Wonderful. I didn't invent a cure for cancer. I made bad choices in my life. So I'll be getting out of the next station and headed for the third rail. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I just wanted to get that story in because it absolutely verbatim happened. So back to the chicken. Okay, so I go into Whole Foods. I'm wanting my chicken, and the chicken I want, they're not ready. What are ready are like these big chickens with very light skin. I mean, fat, as they would say in the old country, fat. So someone will see the tape and say, she's too Jewish, she's too bright, she's too short, she's too old. But just a side note of this profession. But so I asked the chicken guy, the ones that are in the turning on the spit, how long it's going to take, and he said it's not going to be a big deal, 15, 20 minutes. Well, I've waited 15, 20 minutes for a healthy relationship, or 20, am I talking 15, 20 years for a healthy relationship. I could wait for a chicken. So I'm waiting, and of course 20 minutes goes by, and I know that what's beginning to happen to me is what started as like just a New York neurotic episode is about to turn into full-blown psychosis, where I will do something that I will be banned from Whole Foods. So I buy a chicken. I buy a chicken that I don't want. It's inadequate. It's not going to fulfill my needs. I pick the best of the worst, and I take it home with me. Exactly what I did when I used to go to bars and pick up men. So glad you're intelligent. So I really come to the end about growth. There's still more, I don't know, you never know, when your number's up. I mean, who knows? I'm obsessed with death. I mean, I'm on first name basis. It's not the Grim Reaper, it's Grimmy. I mean, I really, absolutely obsessed. And I've made some plans. I mean, I'll be cremated, and you want to be cremated, the ashes sprinkled in your favorite spot. So I would like to be sprinkled at the dessert section of Whole Foods. But the thought of death, it's scary. I mean, it really is scary because it's, first of all, there are only so many choices here. Reincarnation, I don't understand it enough to believe in it. I'd like to, but I don't. The issue of nothingness is really freaky. I mean, it's just, nothing from nothing makes nothing. I can't, it's very hard to, it terrifies me. Don't even want to get into it. I'll have a bad night. Don't sleep well anyway. So then we have the heaven and hell theory. That's all that's left. And I do believe in hell because I spent years in social work agencies. But heaven is a different story. I don't know. I think it'd be great if it really existed. I mean, there you'd be in this, perfect atmosphere, and there'd be all these other energies around you, but you'd recognize people you haven't seen for years. You'd see a few that obviously paid to get in because they don't belong there. And inevitably, I'm sure I would run into my parents, which would be wonderful. I mean, to be able to say to them now, to thank them, really, frankly, just to thank them for everything they did give me, which was support, love, all the material for this show. And basically, I want to thank you all that came out for the same things. Thanks a lot.